Hi, my name is Benjamin Sanchez Pla. I am Cuban American and I'm from Miami, Florida.
Hi, I'm Mayela. I am a second year divinity school student.
Hello, my name is Santi. I am a junior here at Yale studying history. I specialize in Latin American history.
Hi, my name is Maria. I'm from Tampa, Florida, and I'm a junior in Saybrook. And I am the past president of the Cuban American Undergraduate Students Association.
Hi, my name is Sam. I'm also a junior in Saybrook from Miami, Florida, and I'm the current president of the Cuban American Undergraduate Students Association.
My name is Alfredo Cordero. I am a grad student at the Divinity School. I'm coming in from Mexico City. This is my first time living abroad. And I am one of the chairs at La Comunidad, which is the Hispanic affinity group at Yale Divinity School.
How has your cultural heritage shaped your identity and journey at Yale?
I think as a Mexican, when living in Mexico, you don't really give that much importance because everybody else is a Mexican too. It's a fact of life. But when coming to Yale and being in a community with people from all over the world, you start realizing how important your cultural identity is to you. And how important it is to meet people from your background as well.
I think it's been tough at Yale being Latino, especially from Miami or just South Florida, because everyone and everything was catered to Latinos in Miami. It was not tough coming here, but I would say it's very different.
The Latina community here at Yale, it's incredibly diverse, but it's also not entirely diverse in the sense that we still go to an elite university and there's not that many of us even then, right? So you become close to the other Latinas, but it's not the same as what I had felt growing up, in the sense that when I was growing up, everyone I knew was Hispanic. I didn't meet a white American until I was here, literally, until I was 18 years old. Which is kind of crazy to say. Eventually coming into contact with the organization, through Maria actually it was, we had become distant friends. It brought me so much more close to a home away from home. I could even speak in a language, not just in a language that other people understood, but in an accent that other people understood. And I could eat food that nobody else around me ate. I could play games that other people don't play. It's kind of ridiculous, but it is sort of important because it reminds you to me it reminds me this is what I'm doing it for, and also this is where I came from.
I think it's integrated in me a deep desire to build and nourish community. And I think that comes from this concept of familia that I want to build at Yale and that I share with other people and bring them into my life and say we're in this together now. We're a brotherhood, we're a sisterhood, and we're a family.
I grew up partly in Latin America, in Colombia and Mexico, but I did all of high school in St. Louis, Missouri. And St. Louis, I went to a pretty much all-white school where I was one of 3 Latinos. It was me, my brother, and someone else. And so coming to Yale, I was really excited to finally connect with Latinos. My Latino heritage is something that is very meaningful to me. And getting to Yale, I quickly realized that there is, I think, a big division in the Latino community at Yale between sort of international students or international Latinos, and then sort of what we call cultural Latinos, people whose families maybe immigrated a couple generations ago, but who grew up in the U.S. These groups sort of don't really mix, and that was pretty difficult for me sort of coming in and recognizing, especially because I don't really fit in either community. I think personality-wise, life experience-wise, I align more with sort of international Latinos. I think in Spanish, my whole life is sort of lived in Spanish, but I also don't have the experience of doing high school in Latin America. I have the experience of what it is like growing in the U.S., of being sort of racialized in the U.S. as a Latino.
Coming here, I was very nervous and kind of flocked immediately toward the Cuban community at La Casa, because that was what I was kind of used to, having so much family back home and so much community in Tampa. But I never really, I think, expected Causa at Yale to become as close-knit and as tight and formative as it has been for me.
What does being part of the Latino community mean to you?
It's about carrying our history and our culture to wherever we go. We're people who have gone through a lot of hardships in a way where we're constantly redefining our identity. So I think that's what it means to be Latina, somebody who is willing to have conversations about who we are as a people and where we want to be. And what does that mean as we contribute to society?
I don't have to explain to someone when I say pobrecito. And so I think even that, or I don't have to explain to someone why I say salmon instead of salmon. That's something I kind of encountered here at Yale. There's a lot of pushback on that word specifically, which is so normal for Latinos across the country to say. Like first year especially, I would just say, oh, salmon. And then my friends would be like, oh no, it's salmon. They're like, why do you say salmon? I'm like, oh.
I feel like all the friendships I've made, especially at La Casa, mostly the Cuban American Undergraduate Student Association, but just in La Casa in general, I feel like it was formed instantly because, we have something in common. We have something we can understand each other about.
My first year, I kind of navigated the school feeling very alone and all that. Kind of goes with the feeling that Latinos are really separated at Yale. They're kind of, I like to say that they're in like a different corner of the school all the time, and I didn't really meet many of them until my sophomore year. And so that's really been where I found my home and where I found my people. Being able to speak in Spanish in our common language, have the same sort of sense of humor, the same jokes, like to listen to the same music, like that's huge.
I guess I have to say I was a bit hesitant of joining a Latino community because I'd never been part of one before being in Mexico. Being here, I'm finding very drawn towards my Latino community. It is a space where I find myself very comfortable, where I feel safe, where I feel like I can speak in my language and talk about specific things about my background that other people might not get. I'm also finding a lot of people who might not have been born in Mexico or other Hispanic or Latin American countries, but who have a very strong relationship to what being Hispano means to them. And I'm finding that as a very nourishing and very safe space to grow and share.
I think there's a really unique and special kind of power to the Latina community where you do want to kind of grow close to other people and you can bond over not only the same food, which is incredible, but it's really special to just be able to go to a place where you can speak the language that you spoke for years growing up, or you can mention something really obscure, but everyone kind of around it gets you, and they don't ask questions, and they just kind of know there's a very specific kind of knowledge that you take for granted sometimes when you're at home.
Just the fact that I have this Cuban coffee. I was talking about coffee again. Here we go. This Cuban coffee that I bought, I had to buy it all the way in the Bronx because that's the closest place that sells Cuban coffee, in person. I went all the way to the Bronx because my friend goes to school there, and I was like, oh my god, they have Cuban coffee here. I'm gonna bring some back so I can make some for Maria. The fact that I can open the can and smell it, and Maria will smell it, and it'll be the same emotion. It's the coffees at home that for me, it's the coffees at home that my mom makes. My mom has made since I was 4 years old. And it's just something that you can't replicate. Nobody else is gonna smell that and know exactly what it means,
Is there a particular tradition or cultural practice from your background that you really cherish?
I would say making cafecito at 3 p.m. most days. That's something I really cherish and something my family does every single day.
Coffee being one of them, obviously. I think Double 9 Domino's is huge.
For sure.
This is the first year we started.
It's not Domino's that you think. It's double 9s, not the double 6s. Specifically Cuban, okay? Specifically Cuban.
Very Cuban, and we bought the little domino set with the Cuban flag on them and the little curly
the obnoxious flags.
The obnoxious ass flags.
Dia de las Velitas, it's called, Day of the Candles, I guess. It's December 8th. It's basically a celebration for the Virgin Mary, where you sort of get together in community, light candles, and it's supposed to be you get candles. Each candle is supposed to represent sort of a wish you make, and that was always something I grew up with, whether I was living in Hungary or the US or Mexico. My family always sort of brought this Colombian tradition with us, and it's something in Colombia we've tried to take forward, and that's what we do every December 8th.
Surprisingly chisme.
Yes. You grow up around it because you're just in your house and your mom will tell you the most random lore fact about an aunt you haven't spoken to in 3 years, and that's just you're enthralled. You know what I mean?
I love our music. So good. We're the greatest storytellers. We have the greatest beats.
We went to a Latin night the other day, and Celia Cruz came on and oh my god.
We were dancing.
We were dancing our hearts out. It's just so nice to be able to go somewhere, especially at Yale, where you don't hear this music all the time.
Yeah.
I do like going to people events funny events. Those like listening parties, I think, are so great to just feel sort of companionship with the people around you, knowing that you both love this music so much.
When I was living in Miami, I was low-key sick of that music. Like, I didn't want to hear any of that. And then I moved here, and then everybody here plays other type of music, which is great too, and I've come to love different types of genres, but you kind of miss it, right? Going out and like dancing side to side.
Specifically Mexican culture, I absolutely love that we're not afraid to talk and embrace and engage death. Dia de los Muertos, our ancestors, we carry that, and we're okay with knowing that memento mori. I'm gonna carpe diem, live today, seize the day, but also I will die someday. I think I love that about my culture. I'm also a fan of Guadalupe because she's a fan of us, but yeah.
Coming to the United States, a cultural difference I noticed right away was physical embrace and warmth. Back in Mexico, we were always hugging each other, we're very physical with each other. And coming here, you realize, okay, people don't hug as often, people don't hug as much. And I'm liking it here also because, say when you're in a group environment and you say goodbye, in Mexico you'd have to kiss everybody goodbye, Here you just say, bye, I'm leaving, and that's all right. So adjusting to different cultural norms that I didn't expect really before moving has been a bit of a challenge, but it's also been very interesting.
How do you stay connected to your family and roots while you're at Yale?
My grandma be calling me. I'm really lucky she does that. I think you have to be really intentional about it, or otherwise it just kind of passes you by. And then you're back home and everyone's like, oye, mijita, pero, like, where did you go for these last 2 months? Perdida. So,
Representing my values with people and be like, this is who I am, this is how I was raised, and I'm gonna share my culture with you. Building something new here at Yale that if my parents or my ancestors saw, they'd be proud of, and they'd be like, look at you representing this line of values of caring for one another and our history and our story with others.
I try to talk to my family pretty much every day when, calling my parents, my grandparents, all that kind of stuff. Getting sort of that reinforcement, being able to speak in Spanish with my family in a day where it's just been classes in English is something that's really meaningful to me.
I think my mom is like, we're very close. And she's pretty much like the only parent that I have that's constantly there. So like, she's like my best friend. So she knows all the causa, chisme, like she knows everything. And then I also have a grandma who is constantly calling me,
shout
which
out to
I
the abuelas.
love her so much. She is a queen.
Talking to my family, talking to my friends, I've been doing that often. But it's going beyond that. In the work that I'm pursuing here, with my research and the line of work that I'm doing, specifically at the Divinity School, I've been very concerned, for the first time I feel, with things that are very specific to my context. So realizing when we're talking about Christianity, for example, in my case, that Mexican Catholicism is a very specific thing, and a thing of its own, that it comes with a rich history of cultural and religious syncretism. So in a space that's full of people from all over the world with different backgrounds, being able to explore something that I know firsthand is becoming very important. And so in the work that I do, I try to have my roots very present all the time, and that allows me to keep them close while at the same time being part of something that's bigger, broader, and international.
Just through constant communication with my family, calling them, texting them, is really important to me, just seeing what's going on in Florida, especially during hurricane season.
For us, especially in Florida and South Florida lately, like with all the kind of weather conditions and hurricanes that have been going on, like that's been very crucial to kind of just keep in touch, and even if you don't talk to them like all the time, like, are you okay? Also, please consider donating to any hurricane relief funds, especially Milton and Helene recently. There were many affected communities, not just Latino communities.
What does the Latino Heritage Month mean to you?
It's a space to reflect about what it means to be Latino in a different context and space. And all the questions come with it. And once again, to the point of identity being reshaped, it's a space to reflect on that and also bring others into that conversation. Because we're a pluralistic society. We have to have conversations with others about what it means to be Hispanic and like have them inform us and we inform them so that we can create something new. Because we're Americans, we're a country of immigrants.
I think I struggle with these kinds of months of celebration. I understand the point, and they were made to sort of give visibility to a specific minority or sort of underrepresented group. I hope it doesn't mean that we only remember those groups for that month and then environment that we're always being racialized, we're always being politicized, and that shouldn't be forgotten in a month where that doesn't carry our name. Like during Latine Heritage Month, they do like Latin Heritage Month meals, where they do like typical Puerto Rican food, and then that kind of disappears, and like you'll get all these other foods that they like repeat and all that, but it's like sort of like that one day or those 2 days where you're like, yes, I get a meal that reminds me of home, and then that kind of goes away. And I think that really sort of detracts from trying to create a community of belonging where we're not just celebrating people for a month, but we're celebrating them all year round, and especially in a community like Yale that prides itself in diversity and having so many identities and communities brought together.
For me, it means like making space for us, right? I think that that's a big part of why the month exists. Like just kind of like being like, hey, we're here, we work hard, we're a big part of this country and this university and this city, and I think a big part of the month is just like bringing attention to like a lot of what Latinos have contributed to the culture and society in this country. There are so many important artists, painters, singers, movie stars that are Latino, and had they not been Latino, they probably wouldn't have made that much of an impact in our culture.
Because it's like you want to celebrate Latinidad and being Latino year round, but then there's just like, I don't know, sometimes it feels like it's this box of a month in which so many more things happen, and there's just like this emphasis placed on it sometimes, which I think is good. And I think the programming that both La Casa and other spaces do on campus, and also just New Haven and in the United States in general, is great to give exposure to Latin culture. But I do think that Latina should be celebrated year round, and I think it is in many communities, because it's just kind of who we are.
I also do recognize that it is a time where we can all come together as a community, celebrate sort of what Latinidad and our experience as Latinos means, and I am glad that there are so many events and so many things that the university has done in this month to sort of help Latinos feel welcome and see their identity.
So I've only been in the United States for around 6 weeks now, and this was my first Hispanic Heritage Month, so I didn't really know what to expect. Back at YDS, La Comunidad, which is sort of the Hispanic affinity group there, organized a series of 3 services around Hispanic Heritage Month, and I found that a space that was really rich and valuable, and I could see how it was important for other people as well. So we had services where we sang in Spanish and we sang traditional Hispanic music, and we shared some of our traditions and some of our culture, and I found that a very positive outlet. And I also was very moved by how interested and how open people who were not part of the Hispanic community felt about the things we were doing. I think we felt very listened to, and we felt seen. It was very nice, especially at the beginning of my time here in the United States, to have that space where I could explore and share, especially sharing with others, things that I am so proud of my heritage.
It means pride to me. I take a lot of pride in being Latina. I take a lot of pride in being Cuban. If you know me, that's one of the first things you learn about me, and I'm really like, I'm really proud of my culture, my people, my family, and my country. So I think Latino Heritage Month is just kind of an extension to be able to highlight that.
Even though I wasn't born on the island, I was going to the island every year pretty much since I was young, except for like COVID. And my family still lives there. I don't have a choice pretty much. Like I want to still see them. So it's like I have that also connection to the island that's so incredibly strong that like I cannot forget that I'm Cuban. I'm so incredibly proud of being it too.
With La Casa as a whole, it is so rewarding to have like a month just fully dedicated to like, we go all out and we plan these events and we do all these great collaborations. And I think sometimes, being in Casa and being so passionate about it, you get kind of stuck in like our own little family, and it's nice to kind of take a reminder that we're all a big family.
To all our Latinos out there, Have a happy Latine Heritage Month, and always remember that you're a badass and our food rocks.
Yes, and you always have a space that will be home.